The biggest problem is probably surface water concerns, the retention ponds. So here's a retention pond here and one over here. These are built to control the water, so when it comes out during drilling, they hold on to it, and also the fracking fluids, when they come out, they put them in these holding areas, and they're lined so that they cannot go into the groundwater. Okay, and there's whole companies with all kinds of technologies that keep this inside these areas. All right, so the biggest concerns here, of course, again, are leaking, overflow during a storm, a break. If something happens, poor construction can cause a break, and you can lose fracking fluid down into surface waters out here, streams and so forth. And here now, ultimately, if they do it right, these are properly lined. And they will be treated and then released back into the system. So again, 3 to 5 million gallons of water, that most of it is going to be returned to the surface, and you need to do something with it, and that means get it clean in some way and return it to the system so that you don't have problems with wetlands drying up and things like that. Some of the municipalities are agreeing to take the fluids and take them to special treatment facilities where they'll clean it themselves, figuring that it's better for them to do it and be paid to do it rather than to let the companies do it on their own. And so I don't know where that's at in terms of legalities and techniques yet, but I know that's one of the issues that they're grappling with. So of course the concern is with these ponds. If you look at the general hydrologic cycle, water rains down, it flows through streams and into ponds and out back into the ocean. So we have this nice cycle going on. And so the concern is that if there's a fracking pond here that leaks, it goes into the groundwater and ends up in lakes and back into streams and back into the ocean. Or it leaks out into surface waters and ends up back into streams and rivers and so forth. All right, so those are the big concerns. Okay, now, since we're talking about drinking water, it's not just the neighbors up there, way up there somewhere, that need to worry about water quality, right? Anyone that's in a watershed has to be aware that their water is coming from somewhere, and it's coming from somewhere upstream, all right? And so we're in the Delaware River Basin, and just to give you an idea here, this is Marcellus Shale. This yellow area is where the Marcellus Shale is, in various thicknesses. Some of it's not really usable for fracking. Okay, some of it's too thin, some of it doesn't have enough organic material. But these are the areas, these dots represent areas where they've started wells. They've started drilling wells. Brown, which I actually couldn't find a brown dot on here, would be 2007 was the year that they were drilled. I couldn't find a brown dot. Blue dots were 2008. Green dots were 2009, and red dots were 2010. So, and that's through between January and August, all the red dots were drilled. So clearly there's been an increase. There's been sort of a rush to get the wells in before too many regulations come into play. But you'll notice that there isn't a whole lot of drilling coming in this area right here. Okay, so why is that? The watershed for the Delaware River is this green line here. So here it is. I don't know if you guys can see that okay. So here's the green line. That's the Delaware River watershed. So if a water drop falls from the sky anywhere inside this green area, it's going to end up going by Philadelphia eventually in the river, okay? Here blue, that's Pennsylvania state line. New Jersey's over here, New York's up here. And the brownish color, I don't know, gold color is subsurface Marcellus, and the darker brown colors are where the Marcellus comes out at the surface, so you can actually see it on the roadside. Okay? Now, potentially then, within the watershed, here's the watershed, there's quite a few areas where the Marcellus exists. Now, it turns out that most of that area within the watershed is not real frackable Marcellus. There are only a few areas where it's thick enough, it has the right organic content, it has the right heat and so forth, that you can actually get gas out of it. And so those areas have wanted to start some drilling right away. But the Delaware River Basin Commission actually put a moratorium on drilling until they could determine whether or not this was safe for the drinking water. The Susquehanna River Basin Commission did not do this. And so a lot of people are confused. Why do we have all of this drilling going on over in Susquehanna and nothing in the Delaware? What's the deal? Well, the pro-fracking people say that they're just smarter, and the that the Susquehanna folks are smarter, and then the anti-fracking folks think that the Delaware River Basin Commission folks are smarter. But it turns out it has to do with their charter. And they both have a compact. And if you read both compacts, you'll find out that the words are almost identical. So they kind of copied each other in writing their compacts. But I highlighted two main parts. Both of them are in 5.2 of the policy and standards for the commissions. And over here is the Delaware River Basin Commission. And the commission may assume jurisdiction to control future pollution. So they can control future pollution. And down here again it says control such future pollution. So they can actually write rules and regulations and control how it's dealt with. The Susquehanna River Basin Commission can recommend to the parties, the states that are involved, what to do in terms of modification and quality of water. And they can encourage cooperation, but they actually can't control. So the difference is that the DRBC actually can say, no, you can't drill here, whereas the Susquehanna River Basin Commission cannot say that. They can suggest, they can encourage, but they cannot stop. So it's up to the states that are in charge to do that. The DRBC can actually go out and say, nah, don't do that, and so that's what they've done. This is a couple of statements from Carol Collier, who's the head of the DRBC. On May 19th, she actually stopped drilling any kind of natural gas extraction. And then on June 14th, she had to come out with another statement that included exploratory wells. So she basically said, you can't drill. And then some folks started putting in exploratory wells, and they said, well, that's okay because you didn't say anything about exploratory. So she came out in June with another statement that said no exploratory wells as well. So the idea being that they wanted to take a look at this and see what the potential hazards are to water quality in the watershed before they allowed any permitting, any drilling of any kind in the watershed. And so here's some of the statements that Carol made. And I'll just give a plug for our program. Carol's actually teaching a course for us in the spring called the Delaware River, a case study. So that should be a very interesting class this year. It's not the first time she's taught it, but it's the first time it'll be very exciting because of all the stuff going on in the Delaware River Basin. So, and that's just part of her job.